Hey friends, it's Katrin here. This is my third video I'm making for the month of May from my blog. We're talking about why brain retraining works and how your brain controls your health. And so today I want to chat a little bit deeper about how the question of, can your thoughts really either make you physically or mentally sick, or can they really keep you from receiving healing or being changed? So I hope that I can unpack this a little bit for you guys today. If you don't know me, I'm a coach in self-directed neuroplasticity. I love Jesus. I have my own amazing healing testimony, and I now guide hundreds of other people at this point, through their own structured process to heal from chronic illness of so many types. In fact, it's in my blog this month of just a list, and that's not all of it, of the ways in which brain retraining, self-directed neuroplasticity, through relationship with Christ, through Christ, can bring about transformation and healing. So check it out on my website, breakatrin.com. There's so many. In fact, I should probably just make a short little video describing all the different illnesses, and I just feel like it's not exhaustive, and I don't even want to. That's why I don't even want to have to like sit here and label them as if people are going to think, oh, is my condition on this? Yes. Okay, so all right, let's talk about why this is just so big. How your thoughts can either just make you sick or keep you sick. And I guess the question is, why does our thought life matter that much for our health? Like, is this, even the question might come up as you learn about this, gosh, is this my fault then? I am never saying that this is somebody's fault that they're sick. So please never, ever hear that. If you ever think you hear that from anything that I say, just go back or even ask me if maybe the wording I'm using is wrong, because never am I going to say that you made yourself sick. Now, some of us have absolutely done things and cooperated in ways that it wasn't, that it actually could have been our fault. And I'm not placing blame on anyone, but that still is very much a possibility that we very much could have made poor decisions that led to sickness. That is true. But I am not sitting here saying that because you are sick, it is your fault, or because you are sick, you are not a spiritual person. Please don't hear that. Okay, so let's talk about the brain. So at any given time, we use about 90 to 99% of our brain functioning is actually happening on this unconscious, subconscious level, not aware. Probably going to have a motorcycle come down here in a minute. We're going to have to put up with that. It's a nice day here, so there it goes. So this non-conscious level that I'm talking about, that is the majority of what's happening in our brain at any one time, it fires out at an insane, a whopping 400 billion actions per second. 400 billion. So on the contrary, our conscious brain and function, it only uses up to about a max of 10% of our brain functioning at any one time, and it fires at a mere 2,000, from 400 billion to 2,000 actions per second. I mean, 2,000 actions per second is still a lot, but, 400 billion is a ridiculous number. And it's even more ridiculous than to think that we could possibly control or be aware of everything that's going on in our brain function at any given time. Okay. So regardless of how much less conscious is playing a role in your immediate, it is still just a ridiculous number going on. I think that you could possibly catch and redirect every single one of them. So it should make us feel a little bit less hypervigilant, because lots of thoughts are passing by on and going on without us even noticing. I am still learning and growing after several years of doing a very directed brain retraining to find that there are layers that keep kind of bubbling up to the surface of like, oh, wow, that's been a filter most of my life. And then I can start to see where it came from, be like, wow, it's pretty interesting as you keep going through this process. So anyway, what we should know is at any given moment, there's like a Niagara Falls level of flow coming in through our subconscious programming in our brain. We're going to get another truck. And just like this little garden hose of flow that's coming from your conscious programming, which is interesting because so many of us, I think we think that we know ourselves more than we actually do. But this non-conscious is this root level where the thoughts are stored with emotions and perceptions. So your perceptions are these deeply ingrained things, your core values, your beliefs, about God, about the world, about you. They started at a very, very young age, your family, and you have been affected by people, culture, experiences, and obviously, most importantly, if you're open to God, his love, God himself. So I want to talk about our memories now for a little bit, because this is where we tie in, as I was saying previously, about this reality of having physical dendrites, these trees in our brain where memories are stored. And if you listen to my other videos from this month, I'm trying to connect this to the nervous system. Not trying. I am connecting this to the nervous system, to the brain, to the autonomic operations or automatic operations in our body. And our brain, within that limbic system, that autonomic, which is the part of the brain in the central nervous system, and it sits on the it's at the seat of the autonomic nervous system. Your hippocampus is in there, and that's the main area that memory is believed to be happening, is the hippocampus. There are some other things out there talking about the implicit memories and the basal ganglia, and but for the most part right now we're going to just talk about the hippocampus. And this is in the limbic system, where we've also got that emotional center, the amygdala. And it's this alert system that interacts very directly, like I said, with this autonomic nervous system. And that autonomic nervous system and the control center, the hypothalamus, which is this big control center in our brains. And as I've said in other videos, there's a massive connection between the stress response and inflammatory processes and then diseases. So we're connecting memory to diseases, essentially. Trauma to diseases. People don't even realize the level of stuff that can get in through our life history. And we're going to talk about that. But Jesus is way bigger than that. So anyway, if we have some sticky memory banks of just ick, you might not even know what it is, because it might be just so buried. That's was part of my journey, hiding and running from it, especially for me. Big one was afraid of ever feeling shame. So anything bad that I ever did, I tried to rewrite it and just push it away. Anyway, that's an aside. But this creates a recipe for disease. And again, I'm not blaming people who are saying you thought your way into this because somehow you didn't know how to think properly when something bad happened to you. Even somebody with a deep relationship with the Lord can be very affected by some big, deep losses and hurts in their lives, rejections, abandonments, just losses, feeling disappointed in a situation that didn't turn out the way that believed it was supposed to turn out. Whatever. There's many different ways that this operates. So let's go back to sin. Sin and corruption, they're real in this world. It is not some sort of theory. And always seemingly just lurking and affecting everyone in this world. There are trials that come our way because of just the brokenness of it. It is like the force of sin, the curse, regardless of whether we brought it on ourselves. So I hope everyone is aware of that. Understand when I talk about this, I'm just talking about the condition of this disordered world, that we are still, even when we are separated from it, we are still in it, and things happen. And again, like I said, we could play a part in some of our own problems and brokenness and disease, absolutely. But I'm not sitting here putting that on anybody, and I'm not judging anybody or saying that. But that absolutely is that's very biblical. Okay, I would also argue that every single one of us has been affected negatively by someone else's brokenness. So essentially, sin and corruption in the world has affected you, especially through people that you've trusted, that you had close relationships with, especially as children. And these things are physical memories from our past, and they're real. And in a very important sense, they absolutely have power over you in this moment, unless they've been healed and pruned away. So in some very real sense, they are limiting your ability to change. Now, hold on, don't go here and say, oh my gosh, you're putting this above God. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that change with God is not automatic, and change, however, is unstoppable through the power of the Holy Spirit. So all of this can be healed. All these memories of the past can absolutely be healed. There is a process to change and be free from the world, from our past, from the broken things and the lies, through the grace and mercy of the Holy Spirit working in us. It's always, always available. But also in a very real way, oftentimes these memory pathways are limiting, and they have power in a sense over us. We want to break free from that, right? From that bondage, those strongholds in the brain. Okay, so the ability for our brains to record these memories and affect us sounds like it's crappy. Like, why would God make our brains this way? So that when bad things happen, our brains remember and record it and keep us in hostage. And the enemy now can speak to us, to our weaknesses of like, you weren't loved. Remember when this thing happened? Or remember when God disappointed you in this way? Or these different things. So it's like, well, why would God make us that way? It's still good. Okay, and you might, I went through this because it was like, man, I just want out of this. I see it. I just want out of it. I want out of the trauma. I don't want to be in this anymore. I just feel like I'm oppressed by this. Yeah, that's really, really happening. And it's firing out, like, again, those, going back to what I've said in my other videos, those memory pathways are inducing this alert system to stay vigilant, hypervigilant in certain ways, affected by stimuli in certain ways, turned on, and then becoming even more sensitized, and the turning on of that chronic inflammatory response, which just drives so many diseases, turns on inflammatory genes, it just drives so much just death and destruction. I mean, cancer, all these different diseases that I talked about earlier. And this just weakens us and creates more, really, opportunities for lies to be believed at that point, right? We get weak, this is just like the enemy just knows. And as someone who went through their own personal health and beating over the years, like, I know this so to be true, where I was such one way, and through sickness, it just kept breaking me down, until I felt so worthless. So worthless. Anyway, so I know that it's like almost feels like it has an exponential effect. Yet somehow this reality of memory pathways having power is still good. And I want to talk to you about that through a little thought experiment, okay? So hopefully this will bring this full circle to help you understand why brain retraining works and how God set this up for our brains to just respond this way. So imagine that God's faithfulness and his love for you and is all that you have known every moment of your life. Like, every day you've gone to bed deeply peaceful, woken up full of life, full of joy, knowing I'm taken care of, God's got me. I can hear him. I'm trusting him. He's got good things for me. I can see every moment his grace gifts here in my day. I just feel so grateful. Just such a deep, like Jesus. Imagine then how great it is if you, through this process, then automatically start to feel and experience life out of your subconscious memories of God's love and faithfulness. That is your automatic default. That would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? Be a pretty sweet life. Would you ever stress about anything that comes your way? I don't think Jesus did. I mean, he's our model. He's our example. That is why this is so good, that we can grow into that reality through process with God, through our relationship over time with him. Now, I want to talk about his faithfulness, because we see that we actually can forget his faithfulness. I think hopefully everyone's humble enough to at least admit that at some point in your life, you've somehow forgotten the amazing, awesome, good things that God has done in your life and is doing in your life, and you've not seen clearly and been grateful for everything that he's done our five senses pull in information to be processed. And so instead of peace and trust, when we forget his faithfulness, it gets replaced with the lies that the enemy brings in through these experiences that we can have, negative things that show up, circumstances that show up. And if we believe them, and we again have to all be honest that every single one of us at some point has believed a lie, and some of those lies were sown at a really, really young age. And like I said earlier, someone else maybe hurts us, or we saw something that was really horrible, or just there's different things. We process these into physical realities, these lies, these experiences. Like I was saying earlier, dendrites, that trees, neural connections, physical thoughts in the brain, which become strongholds. Now let's look at biblically how we see this in the lives of the Israelites, who over and over again forgot God. They forgot his faithfulness. He says, and he tells them this over and over and over again, and to ascribe greatness to him, to remember him, to see him rightly, and they would forget, and they would go into idol worship. There's just so many story after story after story where they would have a miracle happen and then somehow seemingly forget. And you really don't have to look too far. You see it through the prophets, you see it through the Pentateuch, the first 5 books. You just see this theme play out over and over and over again. They were just like us. Their brains were made just like ours, although they didn't have the Holy Spirit indwelling them back then. So I know that I personally have recognized that I'm believing a lie, and I've repented, and I've wanted and hoped to see immediate change, even beg God just to erase these pathways of the past, these memories. And I've always been met with the same answer. And it used to frustrate me. It's, my grace is sufficient for you. I was like, ugh. But when I realized how good this process is, the fact that he made my brain me to remember him. He calls us to come and take communion with him, remember and do it often, in remembrance of him, in remembrance of what he did on that cross. So he's telling us to do this over and over and over again, because he knows the power of our memories and what we choose to put our focus on. Anyway, so when he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, it wasn't until I began to unpack his beautiful, amazing grace did I start to really find the answer to this, my grace being sufficient for you. Because in each and every moment, I can find his presence and faithfulness in the moment, right here and the right now. The very present moment that I am in, he is in the present. And I can find his gifts. I can see him, I can magnify him, I can glorify him, I can be thankful for them, and my imagination is shaped. My memory bank is shaped by this heart of magnifying him, this heart and song of thanksgiving that he's showing me to walk in over and over and over again, shifting my memories to God's faithfulness, so to peace, to trust. He'll do it again, that he's right here. He's bigger than anything that I face. And away from fear, anxiety, worry. Just pride coming in when trying to take it into my own hands and be God in a sense, unknowingly. I'm not saying I've purposely done that. Like, I'm going to be pride now, or I'm going to be God now. But yeah, shame, regret, sin, all kinds of things. But instead, if I can shift, and this is what happens over time when we do a structured brain retraining program, where we can actually literally build a different structure and function in the brain that's based upon God's faithfulness, God's love. And we can trust him in every single moment, so that we can be like Jesus, who was asleep in a boat while there's a storm going on. And he just got up and rebuked the storm. There wasn't a storm there to him. He was living in this constant communion, thanksgiving, communion in the Greek, it's a Eucharist, thanksgiving, constantly with the Father. And we can do that in our brains. And in that state, sickness can't keep you down. Your system comes into rest and digest. There's peace. There's repair. There's healing that takes place. And we start to thrive. So the structured brain retraining program that we can target changing these subconscious thoughts thoughts that exist, memories, if you want, physical realities in the brain that become toxic. They become poison. People really, I don't think, understand how much it's in there, how much it affects even the way you move your body. It's been astounding to watch my own life as I've constantly been the guinea pig in all the different ways that I've walked with the Lord in this, and learning how much my body, the way that it just moves, the way that my posture is, just everything is absolutely affected by the memories that are ingrained and the pathways that are ingrained in my brain. Just digestion, mood, sleep. And it's all, again, through that renewing of the mind. And you can finally get your health back. So why does it work? Why are they so important? Or are they really even that important? Yup. And those memory pathways is what I'm trying to target today, is that they ultimately need to be wired out. And what we don't use, we lose. So they need to be pruned away, and we need to build a whole new program. And this does take time. It's like an addiction to going back to the old, especially through fear. Like coming to a place of trust with the Lord. I know my own journey. It's like you take a step and it's like, is this really okay? And there's room for that doubt. There's room for that fear in the grace of the Lord. We just don't want to, in Hebrews, it talks about, we don't want to, I forget it. Is it Hebrews 4 or 3? Something about soul falling back to perdition. Basically, we don't want to go backwards. We want to keep pressing in with him and moving forward and trusting him to co-regulate, to heal, to just smooth it all out. And then we can continue to stay in that territory of like, okay, I can trust God in this area now. I know how to trust him in all of my being. And then we can keep going with him, and it keeps getting better and better and better. And not only is your soul, your mind free, but your body, as a result, through your nervous system, absolutely just gets stronger, more resilient, more capable to just do more in peace and not run on stress hormones, to ultimately run on abiding in the presence of God. Just abiding in the vine. Abiding in the vine. So that is my video today on really the importance of our memories, of our thoughts, which physically exist as memories, and the reality of why God made them this way, how it works, and the importance of taking a hold of this and allowing change to happen. But that's not automatic, but it is unstoppable. But we need to recognize they do limit, and we cannot see clearly. And those core beliefs, those old memories, they become like a ceiling to your healing, to your freedom. And we don't want that. We don't want to limit God. And he changes this as we keep working with him. It changes our attitude in our souls and our bodies. I mean, there's just so much more that I could say about this. But I pray that blesses you guys today. I pray that if you like these videos, please let me know. Please hit like, please subscribe, please share it with whoever you think might be blessed by them. And I will see you next time. God bless you.